Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Dr. Wajid Sibir. I have done residency in cardiology and currently I am working as a registrar cardiology. As you know that the advent of transcatheter aortic valve implantation or replacement, which is also known as TAVR or TAVI, it has revolutionized the management of aortic stenosis. Initially, it was used for patients who were high risk or those patients who are inoperable. But with advancement in technology has made it possible to use TAVI or TAVR in intermediate and low surgical risk patients as well. And the studies which were done, they show that the TAVR was non-inferior to surgery. Just like European countries, this TAVR is nowadays done in Pakistan as well. One of our residents, Dr. Kashan Ali, will be presenting a case which was done in our hospital. First, he will discuss about the case, the indications and contraindications for TAVR, and at the end we will see the videos about that case and also have a word from Dr. Asad Akbar Khan, consultant interventional cardiologist, uh, who did this case at our hospital. So over to Dr. Kashan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Dr. Kashan and I am fellow cardiology at Shifa International Hospital. Uh, Today's topic of presentation is TAVR and its indication. We will start with our case presentation. 70-year-old male resident of Rawalpindi, known case of hypertension and diabetes from last 3 to 4 years, history of coronary artery disease, status post-CABG in 2008 at Shifa, Lima to LAD and SVG to OM1 and SVG to OM2 was done at Shifa in 2008. Patient presented on January 2020 in Shifa OPD with complaints of recurrent syncopal attacks, dizziness, generalized weakness, decreased functional capacity from last 3 to 4 years, and also has history of non-mechanical fall recently in December 2019. Echocardiography was done which showed severe aortic stenosis. He also has history of chest tightness and unstable angina from last 3 to 4 months. On examination, patient has BP of 130/80, pulse was 90 per minute, temperature was afebrile and respiratory rate of 28 breaths per minute. JVP was normal, no pedal edema. On examination, there was systolic murmur and chest was bilaterally clear. In lab investigations, HB was 14.9, TLC count was 9900, platelets count was 2,20,000. Creatinine was 1.2, sodium was 139, potassium 4.1, calcium was 4.6 and magnesium was 2.0. Troponin was 44 and CKMB was 1.8. Echocardiography showed ejection fraction of 60%, mild MR and TR, and mild pulmonary insufficiency. Severe calcific aortic stenosis with aortic valve area of 0.9 centimeters square. Mean gradient was 58 and peak gradient was 81, and his LV function was normal. His CT angiography was planned, which showed 80% proximal and mid stenosis of SVG to OM2, Lima to LAD was patent, and SVG to OM1 was also patent. He underwent PTCA and PCI to OM2 with 2 deaths on 7 January 2020. He was discharged uneventfully and TAVI workup was advised on OPD basis. CT TAVR protocol was advised and elective procedure of valvular replacement was scheduled at 22nd January 2020. In CT TAVR protocol, his annulus area was 42 millimeters square. Right coronary artery height was 17.9. Left coronary artery height as 15.9. LVOT area was 450 millimeters square. And sinotubular junction height was 18 millimeter. Right common iliac artery is 7 into 10 millimeter. Left common iliac artery is 8 into 8 millimeter. Right common femoral artery is 5.3 into 7 millimeter. Left common femoral artery was 7 into 6.5 millimeter. STS risk score was calculated, which was 6.3, and patient has intermediate risk category as patient was flail and history of cabbage in past. He was suitable candidate for 29 mm core valve evolute R after all measurements. Patient was admitted via OPD to Shifa International Hospital on 21st January 2020. Anesthesia fitness was done. He was kept NPO for 6 hours and high risk consent for TAVR was taken. After anesthesia fitness, patient was shifted to cath lab on 22nd January 2020. Patient was electively intubated and TPM was inserted via right internal jugular vein. Large bore access was taken from left common femoral artery and pre-closed with 2 per close sutures. 20 French sheath was then inserted. Valve was crossed with AL catheter and confida wire was placed in left ventricle. Aortic valve was pre-dilated with 20 millimeter balloon followed by 29 mm core valve deployment and post-dilated with 24 mm balloon. Post-valve deployment aortogram revealed moderate aortic insufficiency. Post-dilatation was done with 24 millimeter balloon. Repeat aortogram revealed trace aortic insufficiency. Post-procedure patient was extubated and shifted to surgical ICU. Remained admitted for 3 to 4 days in stable condition and was discharged on 25th January 2020 with following medications and follow-up in OPD after 1 week. Home treatment was given as patient has high TLC count. Injection tazocin was given 4.5 gram 8 hourly for 5 days. Tablet Avilox was given 400 mg once daily for 7 days. Tablet Lasix 40 mg once daily for 5 days. Tablet Hydralazine 25 mg twice daily and tablet Coplavix 75 mg once daily. Patient presented to OPD on the 3rd February for follow-up with no further attacks of syncope, no complaints of dizziness, and improved functional capacity. Echocardiography was done, which showed ejection fraction of 60%, mild MR, and mild TR. No aortic insufficiency and no significant gradient across aortic valve. Aortic valve area was improved up to 2.6 centimeters square. There was mild LVH and normal left ventricular function. Now we will discuss TAVR indications. Aortic stenosis. Normal aortic valve area is 3 to 4 centimeters square, and if it is 1.5 centimeters square, then it is mild aortic stenosis. If it is 1 to 1.5 centimeters square, it is moderate aortic stenosis. And if it is less than 1 centimeter square, then it is severe aortic stenosis. And if it is less than 0.7 centimeter square, critical. For TAVR purpose, aortic valve area should be less than 1.0 centimeter square. Mean gradient should be more than 40, or peak velocity should be more than 4 milli per second. In etiology, congenital and acquired causes. In congenital, it can be unicuspid aortic valve, bicuspid aortic valve, or tricuspid aortic valve. In all these, bicuspid aortic valve is most commonly found in adult patients. In acquired conditions, it can be rheumatic heart disease, it can be calcified aortic valve, and increased cholesterolemia. In old ages, calcific aortic stenosis is most common in old age. In this slide, you can see after the latent period, when onset of severe symptoms, this slide shows the mean average survival year. If patient has complaints of heart failure, then his average survival year will be 2 years. If patient has complaints of syncope, then it will be between 2 to 4 years, and if patient has complaints of angina, it will be between 4 to 6 years. Now we will discuss clinical symptoms. Aortic stenosis can be asymptomatic for many years. Symptoms develop when valve is critically narrowed and left ventricular function deteriorates. By classic symptom triad is angina pectoris for 5 years, congestive heart failure from last 1 to 2 years, syncopal episodes from last 2 to 3 years, and sudden death. In natural history, patients gradient of 25 millimeter mercury had 20% chance of intervention in first year. Patients with asymptomatic severe aortic stenosis require closed follow-up. In risk factors, age is more than 70, coronary artery disease, hyperlipidemia, and chronic renal failure. Treatment for aortic stenosis. There are multiple procedures. Surgical aortic valve replacement was now the TAVR, transcatheter aortic valve replacement, and third is balloon aortic valve replacement. Valvuloplasty. This was the first stent was designed in 1989. It was of porcine nature.
It was only used in animal models.
And it was only used in animal models. Next was given in 1990. Alan Kariber was given sketches. Initially, the first valve which was available was of single size, which was 23 millimeter. And it was equivalent pericardial valve. This was the person who done first ever in April 16, 2002. And his name was Alan Kariber. Now we will discuss surgical risk. And for this purpose, STS risk score is calculated. If STS risk score is less than 3 to 4%, patient has low risk, which is 40%. This risk is basically for surgical interventions. If patient has 3 to 4 to 8%, then it is intermediate risk and it is 15%. If it has STS score of 10 to 15%, the patient is in high category risk. If it is more than 15%, the patient has extreme risk. And for more than 50% STS score, then the patient will be too sick. This is STS risk score calculator, in which different parameters are calculated. TAVR for extreme risk aortic stenosis. There were 2 trials in which STS risk score was more than 15 to 50%. 2 trials were done, partner 1B and core valve trial. In partner trial, in this slide, you can see that death from any cause was reduced 24% with TAVR, and rehospitalization visit was also reduced in TAVR as compared to standard therapy. Core valve extreme risk study showed there was a decrease in all-cause mortality and cardiovascular mortality, and there is also a decrease in major stroke in patients post follow-up in 12 months. Now, TAVR for high-risk aortic stenosis, in which STS mortality risk is 10 to 15%. 2 trials were done, partner 1A and pivotal core valve trial. In partner trial, in this slide, you can see that TAVR and open surgery had same effects, as endpoint was death from any case, and death from any case in within 36 months after procedure. In partnered trial, it showed that TAVR has significantly high risk of major stroke within 30 days and after 1 year, and major stroke after 2 years. Core valve high risk pivotal trial, it showed that TAVR has 14.2% of all cause mortality as compared with surgical procedures which has 19.1% all cause mortality in 12 months. Now TAVR for intermediate risk, in which STS mortality risk score was 3 to 8%. 2 trials were done, Partner 2A and Sartovi trial. Partner 2A trial showed all-cause mortality or disabling stroke was reduced in TAVR, which was 16.8% at 12 months, and in surgical procedure it was 20.4%. In intermediate risk patients, TAVR was similar to surgical aortic replacement with respect to the primary endpoint of death or disabling stroke. In Sartovi trial, in this slide you can see death from any cause was less, which was 12.6% in TAVR and 14.0% in surgery. And disabling stroke, patient had 2.6% of disabling stroke at 24 months, and with TAVR and in surgical procedures, it has risk of 4.5% at 24 months. Now we will discuss TAVR for low risk asymptomatic patients in which STS mortality score will be less than 3%. One trial out of US was Notion trial, and 2 trials in US was Partner 3 trial of SAPIEN 3 versus surgical aortic valve replacement, and Evolute R Cole valve low risk trial. In Notion trial, you can see that death rate was reduced with TAVR. Stroke is also reduced as compared with surgical procedure. Major vascular complications are high with TAVR, and major life-threatening bleed was less with TAVR as compared with surgical procedure. But permanent pacemaker implantation is high in patients with TAVR procedure. And valve endocarditis is also high in TAVR. Partner 3 trial, in this slide you can see that TAVR has decreased all-cause mortality with TAVR, and it also has decreased risk of stroke in patients with 1 year follow-up after procedure, as compared with surgery which has high risk and all-cause mortality was also high.
Now we've shown TAVR is better than SAVR in all risk groups.
From this risk score, we can assess that TAVR is more superior than surgical aortic valve replacement in after its complications and patient outcome. Now this is algorithm for valve selection. If patient with severe aortic stenosis, if it has low surgical risk, then surgical aortic valve replacement has class 1 indication. If patient has severe aortic stenosis with intermediate surgical risk, surgical aortic valve replacement has class 1 indication, and TAVR has class 2A indication. For patients with severe aortic stenosis with high surgical risk, surgical aortic valve replacement or TAVR has class 1 indication. For prohibitive surgical risk, TAVR has class 1 indication. Pre-TAVR considerations. Initial assessment is done if patient has aortic stenosis, not severe or symptoms not due to aortic stenosis. Periodic monitoring is advised. If patient functional capacity, if life expectancy is less than 1 year or other factors suggestive of fertility, palliative care should be discussed. And if overall procedural risk, if there is lower surgical risk or other procedural considerations, surgical aortic valve replacement. And if if all these patient has high risk, then we will proceed to transcatheter aortic valve replacement. For TAVR workup, we have done CT TAVR should be done. CT TAVR along with angiogram to assess the valve size. For this, we also consider the approaches. There are different approaches for TAVR: subclavian approach, transfemoral approach, which is most commonly used, and apical approach. ECG and CT aortogram is done to check for annular sizing, aortic root sizing, and additional procedural planning for valve selection and its insertion. Echo should be done to check for left ventricular function and confirm the severe aortic stenosis. For echo, aortic valve area should be less than 0.8 centimeter square. Mean gradient should be more than 40 millimeter, and velocity should be more than 4 milli per second. For considerations during valve selection, landing zone should be checked. For any calcification, aortic valve type should already be known. Coronaries already should be checked. Left ventricular function should be assessed. Conduction system of the heart should be assessed. Access route and cerebral protection and renal protection all should be considered before valve selection. These are 3 types of valve which are FDA approved. First one is Sapien valve, second one is Evolut R valve, and third one is Lotus valve. In this slide, you can see different approaches. First one is subclavian approach, second is transcaval, and third is transcarotid. At the end, we will discuss TAVR in evolution and future clinical indications for TAVR. First one is valve in valve for bioprosthetic aortic valve failure. Second one is predominant aortic regurgitation with aortic insufficiency. Third is bicuspid aortic valve stenosis. And then for low flow, low gradient aortic stenosis and asymptomatic severe aortic stenosis. Now, Dr. Asad Akbar will discuss videos, and for question answer, you can also ask.
So here is this is the pre-TAVR echo of the patient. What you can see is a tri-leaflet valve with a very narrowed and calcified opening. Next video is of this one just shows the ejection fraction of the patient and the fact that the left ventricle is pretty hypertrophied. Left ventricle is very hypertrophied because of obviously the severe aortic stenosis, against which the LV has to push the blood out. Then we'll show you the procedure video actually. So this one? So first what we do is we take an aortic annular picture which shows us the landing zone. This is just checking the valve before deploying. This is us dilating the valve. This is the valve being deployed. This is the TAVR valve, which is a self-expanding valve. We keep checking for its position and location during the procedure. So this was after the deployment. There was a lot of AI, so we post-dilated it. It has become bigger. And now you can't see much contrast going into the LV. So there wasn't much AI left. So then we go to the post-procedure echo. So this is a post-procedure echo. Now you can see the valve, which is opening very well. And we'll show you a color image. Color. So there is no AI going across the valve from around the prosthesis. This is the aortic. This is the TAVI, TAVR valve, how it looks on the echo and short axis. So then I think what we'll show you is a couple of videos of how the other two valves look like. The valve we used was CoreValve Evolute R, which is sort of third generation valve. So we're going to show you a video of how they looked like when TAVR started. We'll do video and just get at So this is the Sapien valve, the first generation balloon expandable valve. This is the valve in the annular plane, and now first we pace the ventricles. When we pace the ventricle, actually the aortic annulus comes to a standstill, so that helps us in positioning our valve in the exact position where we want it to be. And then the next one is a video of CoreValve deployment. So here we are doing the aortogram again to check the annular plane at which we will be deploying the valve. This is the valve going up. This is the CoreValve Classic. We use the third generation of this similar valve. So the deployment part is the same. The only benefit we have now is that we can always reposition it even after about 2/3 of its deployment, which wasn't the case with these initial core valves. So now we have a lot more control while we are deploying them, and we can always change the position if we don't like it after almost 2/3 deployment. Okay, so I think we can take questions now.
So let's ask the question from Kashan, and if he cannot answer the question, then Dr. Asad Akbar can intervene. So Kashan, what was the average age of the patients in these trials for TAVR versus SAVR? What was the average age of the patients who underwent TAVR in these trials?
Sir, average age was 70 years. 70 years.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But what we need to know is, that's the correct answer. But what we need to know is 70 years in European and American population is more like 60 years for Pakistani population.
Okay. So Asad, this is a kind of an expensive procedure, and it is being done in patients who are, initially, now we are trying to do it in a more relatively younger population, but before that, with a STS score of very high risk and high risk, and these are elderly patients. So, when they do undergo these procedures, and there are possibilities that they can have a prolonged hospital stay as well, just because of when you're elderly and there's a high chance that something else goes wrong with any vascular problem, stroke, and anything. So, any cost-effective analysis, how cost-effective is this procedure in this elderly population? I'm sure not in Pakistan, but what about in Europe and US?
So if you, I'm sure you know the American system very well, and a lot of our audience members know the same thing. In US, every hospitalization that these patients undergo carries a lot of monetary implications. Just one day's admission via ER is thousands of dollars. So if you are able to prevent hospitalization, just hospitalization in this population, you're preventing a lot of money being wasted on just these regular hospitalizations. So the fact that TAVR has shown that across all risk groups, the STS risk groups, TAVR has shown reduction in hospitalization is able to explain and is able to sort of define why FDA approved all these procedures in across all risk groups. That was one thing. For Pakistani population, I think probably doing it in a 55-year-old is not justified. And that is what I tell the patients when they come to me because they've heard of it. Because I think the surgical valve cost in Pakistan is around 5 lakh or something. And for TAVR, it's around 35 to 40 lakh. And the fact that these are tissue prostheses means that although we know that tissue prosthesis in aortic position can last up to 15 years, that is from the surgical valve data and sort of the valves which were made from similar material that TAVR is being made of. TAVR data is only up to about 7 years. But even if we think it can last up to 15 years, you're still looking at a repeat procedure at 65 years of age, which I think financially is not justified in Pakistani population. For Pakistani population, I think the groups which are suitable for TAVR are high-risk groups and extreme risk groups. And I think somebody who has had his chest opened already has a very high risk of infections and complications, and getting off the vent for these patients is a big issue as well. So that was the patient that we chose, and we agreed on doing the TAVR on. So I think doing TAVR in a low-risk population is probably not justified in Pakistani population. That said, the fact that in the low-risk TAVR trial, the average age of patients, or at least the inclusion criteria said that patients have to be at least 65 years of age and above. So saying low risk is one thing, but if you go by trial, even for Pakistani population, somebody has to be more than 65 years of age before we should consider them for TAVR, because I think at that stage, the risk of mortality is significantly higher in Pakistani population. And if somebody can afford it, probably it's worth doing it then. But in a